even when the circumstances are absolutely screaming that you panic, that you give up, that you freak out. You're working hard and feel like you're doing things right. Maybe you're building, showing up, and putting in the work, and somehow at the end of the day, you are still unsure. Rather, it was enough. Questioning if you are enough. Or you're stuck in analysis paralysis, and I know how that feels. I want you to understand that there is a shift you can make that I also needed to make and continue to make every single day. And it doesn't start here, but it starts in the heart. Because let's be honest, the mind is typically bogged down with the tasks and hurdles of life, and you may be overly stimulated with social media to a point where you can't even settle down. So I want you to draw your attention to the path you may not have considered just yet. The root is Isaiah 26:3, and inside it highlights a surreal truth that if grasped, you will feel whole and at peace and able to do even more with the talents and gifts you have been developing or thinking of using. We've all heard of hustle culture and how great that is for your mental health and your physical health, and how it provides so much peace to all the lives that put their trust in this way of living, right? Spoiler, it doesn't do any of that. This is because when the resource for everything in your life, income, stability, family, security, and more, is you, that weight is crushing. And then you end up with the reality of those emotions sitting in. What happens if I fail? What happens if I'm not what I told everybody I was? You start saying things that obviously show that you doubt yourself and your ability to fulfill that role. And the truth is that fear and doubt doesn't exactly always mean that you lack faith. It could mean that you are human. The real problem is that you are focusing on you for the bills, the business, the relationship. And I'm not just saying this in theory. You have to think about the fact that you are always depending on you for the answers and not another resource. Hey guys, thank you so much for taking time out of your day to watch this video. I am praying and hoping for you to grow in every single area of your life. Spiritually, financially, physically, relationally, just in every facet. I hope that you prosper. If you haven't already, please subscribe so that we can all continue to tap in, go deeper and deeper, and grow together. Thank you again. Check this out. Isaiah 26:3, you will keep in perfect peace those whose minds are steadfast because they trust in you. The word steadfast means being firmly fixed, immovable, and unwavering in faith, devotion, and obedience to God, regardless of circumstances, trials, or the answer you want to hear. The Hebrew root word for steadfast, samak, literally means to lean your whole weight onto something, like leaning back in a chair and trusting it'll hold. Now imagine if in everything you did, you leaned all your weight on God. This means that you have a feeling to build something, to pursue a job, to change careers, to work out a talent to its fullness without worrying if it's all up to you to water, to grow that thing. It means you go to bed at night knowing you did all you could do, and now sleep in peace knowing that all of it that was done and all will not work out. Take a moment and think about this in our spare time. What would that look like and feel like? Could you have less anxiety? Though it could be uncomfortable, quite honestly, because we all want that sense of control. I know I do. I fight with that control. I fight with the unknown. I fight with the unseen. But when I relax and let it go, when I think about what it really means to believe, to trust, what it really means to say, no, God has my best interests at hand. Would you feel more secure knowing he is watching, listening, and seeing you through it all for his glory and for your benefit in the end? Now hear me clearly, please, when I say that this is not a passive faith. Yes, it's an active choice to keep your mind, your heart anchored to God, even when the circumstances are absolutely screaming that you panic, that you give up, that you freak out. Your circumstances say to you to drink your way through, smoke your way through, sleep your way through, but your choices say, no, I'm waiting my way through. I'm praying. I'm working my way through, but I am not throwing in the towel. So what does that actually look like in real life? Let me show you 3 areas to use this in your life. Pillar number 1. So let's say you have a business idea and you know that it's going to require a certain amount of skill set. You recognize the need for equipment and maybe even a business partner. Trusting God looks like you literally investing in that skill, in your talent, and you show up fully and believe while doing it. And then after you have done all that you're supposed to do, you release the outcome. And I know that sounds wild. What do you mean release the outcome? I have to make it happen. It's my job to do this. No. You do all that you can do, and then you let it go. You rest. You believe and you rest, because that is not your job. You have shown up in excellence. Now God takes care of the rest. Again, you believe that he will be the provider through you. And practice this step before you open your laptop or anything of work. Say this out loud. He is the source. I'm just the vessel. Then get to work. Make it achievable. And then with pillar number 2, how you can apply this is if you are wanting a healthy relationship with family, friends, and a partner in marriage, know that fear and scarcity don't just wreck your bank account. They will surely attempt to wreck your relationships as well. You avoid this by leaning into the heart of God and how he has commanded us to love each other and to forgive and to be sacrificial with our love as he was and is with us. And when you leave the stabilization and the harmony to depend completely on you, people who you love will also feel that pressure too. So think about what it looks like to actually ask God in that moment, how do I respond in love right here? Maybe you are being questioned about your loyalty. Possibly there's a disagreement. You can't come to terms and you and your spouse or family won't see eye to eye. So say this in your own mind, in your own thoughts, even in the midst of the conversation. I've done this and I do this, and it's extremely helpful. In my mind, I'll say, Lord, I need your words of wisdom right now. Before you speak, take a moment. I have had times where my wife is anxious and upset about something, or I am anxious, and we are discussing our life in directions and important matters, and I am having dialogue with the Spirit in my heart and in my mind as I govern myself and watch how I respond, how I'm responding in leading, in listening to understand and not just respond. And this has been an absolute game changer for how I respond, and I'm seeing it that this is a moment where I am trusting in God and I make that known. See, because peace in your home starts with peace in your heart. Pillar number 3 is one that many struggle to conquer, and that is how to handle financial situations, whether that's debt, whether that's foreclosures, whether that's not making enough money, right? The fear of money or the lack of it is a common faith killer, and the enemy knows this. But don't let that stay. We know who the source really is. And the important thing that doesn't get talked about enough is the difference between stewardship, which is the managing of what God gave you, versus ownership, which is acting like it's all on you and it's all yours. When you start to handle your gifts, talents, and money, resources like they are God's, then you will handle yourself differently. You can then make financial decisions, life changes, from a place of peace and not panic. Instead of wondering if you'll be able to make the bills, you prioritize counting up the costs for subscriptions and spending, traveling, and you cut off things that don't serve you long term and His kingdom. This looks like you doing the math, using wisdom that we've seen from Solomon to make wise moves, and then trusting that your resources will grow. Because see, you didn't earn your way here, and you won't lose your way out either. I'll share with you a personal story, because I am not immune from having fear or doubt. And I've had these tendencies from my own personal struggles growing up in times where my family went without and was in doubt completely because of bills being paid. In times where efforts seemed to not reach an end goal that was the desired goal. And so in my life, I had to come to grips with this, especially as an adult, and realize that I am in need of trusting God even when I don't feel like I trust Him in the moment. My actions say, God, I'll be obedient, even if my mind says, how is this going to work out? But the actions, when you're trusting God, even in fear, says you make investments in the skills. And so what I do, I invest in myself. I put myself out there with my talents into the world, believing that He will be the provider through me instead of just relying on myself. For instance, I know some of you may already have or may be thinking about having a family. And I can tell you firsthand, since I am newly married, and that's on the top of our mind, just how crippling it can be to think you'll never have enough for that family. And it hurts, it's sad, and yet when I lean on Him through the scripture, through other people's stories, and honestly, even when I think about my own life, how grateful, how faithful, how mercilessly and gracious God has been. And I just love how I then realize how God has come through for them, me, their families, and it gives me complete hope in that moment. And maybe on this journey of life, there is some great point to our little faith. Maybe in our weakness, He is strong. So I pray that as you watch this, I am praying over your unbelief. And I'm praying even over my own doubt at times, that we find our hope in faith, in the one that has all faith, that has all hope. And I believe when we do this, that is where the peace and the joy that surpasses all understanding, it makes no sense whatsoever. But in that place where you'll be able to smile and sometimes even cry, yes, out of pain, but knowing that you're in His hands. And maybe if we just remember that, we'll possibly also believe that we too can do all things through Christ Jesus. That tight feeling I mentioned at the start of this video no longer has to be something you live with. The very peace that is mentioned in Isaiah 26:3 is not for other people. No, that's for you. Be sure to write down that verse. Say it out loud today and tomorrow. Lean on it in this next week. I can't wait to hear about your transformation in your life and in this next year. I hope you stay faithful to it. Lean in, lean back. Until next time, I love you. God bless.